Here it comes. Hey Fragrance family, I'm David, I'm a Fragrance Bro. Of course, your best source for everything fragrance related. Today I have a review. It's been long awaited. It's Dior Homme 2020. And of course, welcome to my new set during the quarantine here, the outside set. And got a lot of sun here, got some noise, got some airplanes, some woodworking, got a whole bunch of stuff here, but this is what we have to work with today. Now, I made kind of a funny video about this recently, about my first impression of it, and that kind of summed up my thoughts right away. Now, for the record, Dior sent this to me for review, and they actually sent me a whole suite of Dior Homme 2020 products, like the aftershave and the shower gel and things like that. I got 4 other products from them. But of course, it's not going to change my opinion here. I'm going to be totally honest here, and as you already know, it's not a very good opinion about this fragrance. Dior Homme 2020 kind of reminds me of The Room. The movie The Room, and if you've seen The Room, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Room became kind of a cult classic, but it came kind of popular, not because it was good, but because it was bad. The Room is widely considered one of the worst movies ever made, and because of that, it was so bad that it became funny. And the audience that likes The Room don't necessarily like The Room because they think it's good, but because it's bad. It's become so bad that it's good. People aren't laughing with it, they're laughing at it. And in a lot of cases, Dior is kind of like this. Dior Homme 2020 could have been good. Instead, it's a train wreck. Now, maybe you disagree with me and you like this fragrance, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. I don't know why you'd watch this review anyway. Or any review for that matter if you already like it. But I hope to at least explain why I don't like this fragrance, and I think I have a lot of good reasons why. Dior Homme 2020 is bad, like really, really bad. And I don't expect this type of fragrance from Dior. I expect this type of fragrance from Ed Hardy or some other like Hollister or Abercrombie or something like that. Now, there are 3 types of bad fragrances, I would say. The first one is something that is repulsive, that you think just smells awful, like it's the worst thing you've ever smelled, like something that has fecal notes or animalic notes, something that you think smells truly, truly bad. The second type of bad fragrance is something that you don't like personally, but you can look at it and you can say, wow, that was still done really well. An example of that for me is many of Roger Dove's fragrances. I think all of his fragrances are done really well, but most of them just aren't to my taste. The third type of bad fragrance is something that you might not like, and maybe other people might like, but you can recognize just isn't made well. It's not made well technically. It feels like it's slipshod, and it feels like it's just thrown together. That third type of fragrance is exactly what Dior Homme 2020 is. It's a bad fragrance because it's bad technically. It's bad. It's bad because it smells crass and cheap and sharp. It smells like it's not put together well. It smells like it's not pleasant. It smells rough. And it doesn't smell like a luxurious type of fragrance. It doesn't smell like a luxury item. It smells very cheap. And that's really sad to say, because I think that Dior does really expensive fragrances for a great price very, very well. I'll put the notes on the screen here so you can see all the notes on the fragrance here, but the overwhelming note that I get here is a really cheap citrus note mixed with like a cashmere and balm, with a little bit of leather and a little bit of cedar in the base. And right away at first sniff, it smells very pedestrian, like Dior is trying to copy some cheap department store. And that's what it seems like this fragrance is going after. It's going after that style of fragrance, which is really bizarre to see Dior, who makes such greats like Sauvage and Ombre Nuit, and tends to set the bar with fragrances like Sauvage, go and make this, which is a cheap mall fragrance knockoff. This works for spring and summer and daytime, and I think it works for casual situations only. Performance on me was in the average range, and that's it. Dior could do much, much better. And even if they try to go for that kind of seeker-friendly, mass-market appeal type of fragrance, they've proven that they can do it really well, like with Sauvage. Sauvage was a big hit because it smelled great, but it also appealed to a great market, and it did something just a little bit different than the other type of mass-market appeal fragrances did. But this one doesn't. This one copies the bottom barrel fragrances that you can find out there. This is a type of fragrance that you're going to find at TJ Maxx for like $20 max. And let's talk a little bit about the original Dior Homme some too, just for context here. The original Dior Homme was a masterpiece, I think. It's one of those fragrances that again set the trend. It did something unique, and it just really smells amazing. And it's one of the best smelling fragrances of all time, in my opinion. Some people criticize reviews of this because they compare it to the original Dior Homme. In a way, I agree with that. I don't think that it needs to be compared to the original Dior Homme. But it's not a fragrance in a vacuum. The name speaks to what it should smell like. Dior Homme. And it doesn't smell like that at all. It's a shameful representation of the original Dior Homme. A shameful representation. But my bigger problem with this is not that it smells nothing like the original Dior Homme, but that it's a bad fragrance by itself. This smells terrible. It smells terrible. Now, there aren't many fragrances out there that make me just want to scrub them off my skin, but Dior Homme 2020 was one of those fragrances. It's not a fragrance that anyone likes around me at all, and it's not one that I like at all. Now, of course, if you like this fragrance, we can agree to disagree. And like I said, there probably is an audience for this out there, though I do think that it's a minority of people who like this, not the majority of fragrance lovers, especially if you look at reviews of this on Fragrantica. Sadly, this fragrance is just bad all by itself. Now let's talk about value. I think it's $95 for 100 ml. Now, any other time I would say that is a great deal. I think that's an average deal for what you get. But in this case, I think it's a terrible deal just because it's competing with really cheap, bottom of the barrel, crass type of fragrances that you can find all day long for $20. It's a sad day for Dior, truly, truly sad day for Dior. For them to make a fragrance like this, I think there's no excuse. There's no excuse for them to make a fragrance like this. I hope they can learn from this and turn a corner with this type of fragrance. And I just really hope that they do better. For me, this is a 1 out of 5. It's just not good. With that, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Fragrance X. Fragrance X is an online retailer that sells thousands of legitimate fragrances for a discounted price. If you're considering buying a fragrance, definitely check out Fragrance X. I'll have a link down below to them as well as a coupon. So those are my final thoughts for Dior Homme 2020. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'd love you for it. I'll see you next time. I'm Dave with the Fragrance Bros. Bye.